Women Power in Homeopathy. And here with me are Bettina Schürer, Priyamvadha Subramanian, Martine Jus, Rajeshwari Rapata, and Svetlana Popova, all very powerful women in homeopathy. And starting, I want to tell a bit about the history of homeopathy and the history about medicine. Can you remember what the medical advice for people was 230 years ago? In India, it might be different. You had yoga, you had the traditional Ayurveda medicine, but in Europe, it was quite bad. They had bloodletting, they had the putting of the hair rope, mostly impregnated with Spanish fly to induce pus. And they had the stitching and burning with hot metals. And they had the cold water therapy. And when Hahnemann did see all that and tried to cure with that, he saw he was lost, totally lost. And of course, we had all the women knowledge about the herbs and the shaman knowledge about the spirits. But that was pushed very much in the background as we had all these witch burnings in the middle of the last century. Not century, the last millennium. And now we had Hahnemann inventing homeopathy. And as he was a rebel, he went against the conventional medicine. And in homeopathy, we face it till today that we have problems with our colleagues with conventional medicine, that there is homeopathy is censored and harassed in some countries. And on the other side, we still have all the traditional knowledge about herbs and natural medicine in the women. So we have a very interesting thing, as I guess. We have Paracelsus way back then inventing the spagyric and alchemistic medicine, which was taken over by women and mothers. Then we had homeopathy, and in between all the herbal medicine, which came from tradition. And now we have a lot of women taking over the ideas from Hahnemann and coming forward with that. So we have on one side a very analytical thinking, very male thing, left-brained thing. And on the other side, we have the tradition, the intuition, the knowing of the kingdoms, plant, mineral, and animal kingdom. And we have, till now, people who prescribe from their heart and their intuition and not strictly logically based on the repertoire. And what I would like to do is to discuss today whether we can join everybody at the table once again. Having the left-brained people sitting beside the right-brained people, nobody judging nobody, just collaborating and hearing each other's ideas. You see, we now have the Kantianian school and Yorgos Vitulkas, who doesn't want to hear about Rajan and his bhajans, who doesn't want to know about Peter Tuminello and the gem repertory, and so on, so on. We have those who prescribe homeoprophylaxis with a few remedies combined, like Isaac, which others don't like. We have people like Kate Birch who intuitively take on these remedies like glyphosate or einkorn and do the provings on it, but have intuitive knowledge on it. And they are sometimes respected, sometimes not. So ladies, I would like to hear your opinion on all of that and your opinion on whether we could manage, if males cannot manage to sit at one table, if we as women can manage to sit at one table, hear each other's voice, and slowly by slowly integrate those who still struggle to be non-judgmental. So who would like to begin?
I can, because I was prepared a little bit of what would be coming up. And I must say I went like that. This summer, I heard from a Canadian homeopath that to know for a patient whether he has to do with a good homeopath or not, he should ask his homeopath, how often have you read the organon? And if the homeopath does not know what to say, the organon is there in his library, but not really. Finally, he said, a good homeopath has read the organon 10 times. So I sat there and said, Bettina, take it out, read it again. And I did so. And I realized how wide the organon is. In the end, we come to Mengele with the hand healing. And I realized again how much concentration he gave on the situation the patient was living in, the social situation, the familiar situation, the situation of the society. And so I said, it is so wide, it's far more wide than to do a good repetition, I don't exactly know, which one can do with the computer, all the symptoms, and the computer tells you which remedy out of the materia medica comes in question. And so I thought, okay, the left-sided men, they took this part of Hahnemann and they made greatest efforts and greatest success and super. But there is so more to the organon and what Hahnemann has put down in it. And so also I know what Isaac Gordon about the homeoprophylaxis has to say, and how he explains how the homeoprophylaxis is relying on the organon. And so I would say to read the organon again and again and again gives one the chance to see the different way of approaches a very, very good homeopath can go. And I would also say, as a woman myself, the intuition was also very strongly in Hahnemann himself. I mean, he took knowledge out of the sky, I would not say, or from God. I mean, he was also a man who had big belief. And so I feel strong that it's good to be able to work with intuition. Like, for example, I myself, I work with my pendula. When I got an idea what could be good, I ask, should I give this? No. Okay, I look again. So I think it is an important point to make clear that it's such a big world which Hahnemann has given to us, and so many different kind of people can find themselves in it and be good homeopaths.
If I may add something, I think it's beautiful what you said, Bettina. And I think you're right. Everything is that we need to there's so much in the organon. I like also a sentence of Kant very much. Kant says that homeopathy is a science to study and an art to practice. So it's a combination of both parts. From my optic, I don't see a separation between right brain, side brain, and left, and intuition and a logistic approach. It needs both.
Yeah.
Because you can be really flowing and really being with the patients only as much as you have a solid base. Otherwise, we are going into esoteric, and I'm really fighting against that. This is nothing to do with what Hahnemann gave us. It is a science to study. We have principles. They are in the organon. They have been explained and further developed, and all this. This is not that we stayed on that point, but we have very strong principles. Apply them. We have a materia medica. Study it, and then be free with the patients. Then this is what what many people, I think, unfortunately missed, because if you don't do this, then you have to fight with the books with the patient. And then you cannot have an artistic way of practicing. And this is what I love in the Kantian method, that you can do it like this, but there are different approaches. To me, any approach is welcome. We have, the homeopathy is based on similia similibus currento. How you find the simillimum, it is your business. It has to be your approach that you feel comfortable. There are many different approaches, but you can't say, I give apis, I give convallaria, and you give natrium muriaticum, and all are right. This doesn't go. So how you reach the medicine, different approaches, depending you're more right brain, left brain, or whatever you want. This is my opinion. And from this point of view, I don't understand why we fight about methods. Because the patients, if we are all talking about the definition of healing as set by Hahnemann, if we all understood the difference between healing and suppression, then there is only one medicine at that time who is able to do this. So who cares how you reach that? Your patient have to find that, feel comfortable with you. You have to feel comfortable with your method, and that's about it. So we should stop fighting about all these approaches. We should just be sure that we're talking about the same, and read the organon again. Definitely, this is a very balanced way of approach, which I really appreciate. May the other lady speak.
I agree completely, with what Bettina is saying, that the organon is underread, underappreciated, and very very less understood, because one, the language is a little archaic, and we know that when I was researching about Melanie Hahnemann and the role that she had in the 6th edition, what happened, when it was published, how, Richard Hale bought the rights from the Bonninghausen family. And, it was after many, many years, I think almost after 25 years after the 5th edition, or maybe longer, the 6th edition was published sometime in 1921. Long after Melanie Hahnemann's death. She was the sole custodian. She had been given the right by by Hahnemann to send it out into the world when the world would be ready for it. So there was a lot of, because during his lifetime, I think he was so used to the opposition, the criticism, the derision that he faced from the world at large, from the medical community as such, that she took on that responsibility very seriously. And although the Bonninghausen family was married into her family, to her adopted daughter, and they kept asking her permission, she held on to it for quite a while. And we have always, it was very surprising for me as a homeopath, as a woman homeopath, 40 something years, that when I was a student, we were always taught that she was a gold digger, and that she was an opportunist, and she preyed upon a poor unsuspecting 8-year-old man in the old Hahnemann, and she took over things. And it was this is what we were taught at that particular time. So now I understand her situation, woman of independent means, the onus of the responsibility that was on her shoulders. She waited for the right time. And then there are a lot of, because of that, the history behind it, it has been a little quickly translated, probably improperly translated. Then comes the difficulty in the language. You can understand that it is not from a native English. So for probably a German speaker, it would be much more comfortable to actually read the original German version. For English speakers like us, the language is extremely convoluted and ponderous. So it requires multiple readings in order to get acclimatized to the language, the construct of the sentence itself. And then your own, in India, we begin studying homeopathy when we're very young. So we haven't really seen much of life and, circumstances. And we are really quite academically oriented when we are students, and we are in our early 20s, not having really traveled or seen much of the world. So I think somewhere when we are in our 40s, the maturity, you've seen things, you're probably a mother by then, you've come across, certain situations. And then probably, depending upon the stage of life that you're in, the various messages in the organon probably strike a chord or a note, and then they begin to make sense. So I really believe, I trust, Bettina, what you're saying, that, reading and rereading and rereading is, it's the only way forward. And I also agree with Martine in that it doesn't really matter to me. When I was very young and a 25-year-old homeopath, it was very important to me to prove that my way was right or this way was right and no other way existed. Now it doesn't really matter. If for me, I've understood over the last couple of years that it's the medicine that does everything. It's I am only a mirror. I am just a witness to that patient's journey. I'm there with them. I walk with them. Whatever they show me, I see, and just write it down very faithfully. And what has emerged over the last couple of years is this kind of a little gestalt, if I may borrow that German term, trying and understanding the entirety of the picture and not just looking in one narrow area of what you're seeing in that 30-minute or 60-minute interview. Nobody can really understand anybody. Even you can be married for 25 years and not know your partner. So it's really amazing, and it's very ambitious to think that one could understand a patient who's sitting in front of you in a span of 45, 60 minutes, maybe 90 minutes. It's just impossible. But what I do trust is that if I create the space, and then if I allow that energy to unfold, then perhaps, like a screen that plays the story and the journey of their life, it is brought out in front of me in cinemascope, in wide angle, in all its glory. And it depends on me at that moment and where I'm at on that day to understand or to not understand. And that it's okay for me to be lost sometimes and to not understand what remedy this is, and that it comes up. I have to just trust the process. So this trusting is something that is coming over time. So somewhere in the last year, we're trying to see the inner age of the person. So some signposts are also emerging for us. So we're not really completely, making sort of hypothetical situations, reading into it. Perhaps it is this, perhaps it is that. We have certain signposts now with the inner age that we're trying to map the patient at. Every time when we understand the inner age, then we're only looking at those remedies and trusting that the whole will emerge from that. So I also agree that it's a science and an art. For me, it's also important that I read Margaret Tyler every time, that I see a remedy also, because I trust the way, the humor and the love with which she writes about her remedies. I think that's a very feminine touch for me. I really love that. Putting little anecdotes, making sure that you remember that remedy. And she says that you have to get to know your remedies as if like you get to know the footsteps of your friends. When they're coming up the staircase, that it's this person or that. You have to also understand that there are certain things that are like in the constellation of symptoms of certain remedies, that if those symptoms come up, then you can trust, you can be sure that the central core of that remedy will also emerge. So this is something that I'm trying to develop within myself in the last 4 or 5 years, and it has really helped to understand it through the inner age of the person in front of us. And I used to call it case taking before, so now I call it a very feminine case receiving. So it's like, I'm just there and I'm helping that process unfold. I'm not really going in with a lot of masculine energy and taking it. So that difference has also emerged. So I suppose the feminine aspect of the work that we do is emerging much more for me at least. It's not a masculine acquisition of facts. It's much more a feminine unfolding and understanding, creating a soft space, allowing that person to just be. I think it's a much more feminine way, but that goes towards the whole. So that whole has both the masculine and the feminine. It cannot be without that, because after all energy has, as we believe in the Indian philosophy, that the masculine and the feminine come together, and that's how, even our brain is. So it's, as always, Marianne asks very thought-provoking, very interesting questions. I really like this question very much. Thank you so much.
It's nice to hear your answer. Rajeshwari, you did miss a bit of it, but I still think you have a lot to say.
Actually, the electric power here was suppressed because of the woman power sitting here. So there was a disruption in the power. So I had to log in through the mobile. So that's the thing. So coming to the women power, you will be surprised that while I was asked to talk on this women power in homeopathy, I was searching through Google that let me see who are the powerful homeopaths, women homeopaths all over the world, and at least in India. So I was searching through, and you'll wonder that I was not able to find any accuse of any women leaders in homeopathy. But to my personal knowledge, I have known many of the powerful women in homeopathy who have been in the leading positions in India. For example, I can take the name of Dr. Radha, who was in a powerful position in the CCH, as she was the advisor also to the government. And recently, Dr. Nandini Sharma, she's also elected member of the government, and also she is a leading member homeopathic doctor in Delhi, New Delhi. So there are numerous homeopaths who are in the leading in India, but in the accused, they still are not named as such. Like we see there is a one quote, Sandra Cisneros. She wrote while she was searching for the Latin Shiros. She wrote that we are the footnotes of the footnotes. So we have to find out our way to make the headlines, not being the footnotes. So we have to help ourselves to be getting our own self-worth, self-respect, and the name for ourselves, even though we have all the talent, all the skills to be in the front. For example, when we see the history of Dr. Hahnemann itself, okay, the life history, we find his second wife, she made a name for herself after Dr. Hahnemann's death. She also helped to renew the edition, okay, and added many new aphorisms into that, and many new things. So from the life history itself, we get a great inspiration from that. Now, while we come, as I'm from the academic field, I saw that in the colleges, not only in homeopathic colleges, but almost in any professional college you'll find in India, almost more than 60% of the students are girl students.
Yeah,
I don't know how it is a situation in Europe, but in India, all the professional colleges, almost you'll find that girl students are more. Only in mechanical engineering colleges, there are more number of boys. But later, in all the professional colleges, and especially while to mention the homeopathic colleges, you will find 75% students are girl students. So you see the women power. But while we come to the leading positions, we find only a few women who are in the good positions. That is the thing. So where are these girls who are becoming the professional homeopaths? Where are they going? That is the matter. Like for example, when I was a student, many of my classmates, some of my friends who were the first rankers in the college life, later on they disappeared. I don't know. They're not practicing. Some of them are married. This is the situation. So my message to the girl students, okay, is that they have to study and they have to carry the profession very well. After graduation, they have to select their career properly into the practice, or to do something in their career to make a name for themselves and for the society. They have to do something. That is what I mean. Is carry forward.
Yes, this is a great answer. I can tell you, when I studied veterinary science in Munich, in my year, in my class, there were about 25 to 30% women. But when I talked to a student who visited me last year, she said it is 80% girls now in Munich studying veterinary science.
It is so more or less in all medical and social professions, at least in Switzerland. This is what we see. In homeopathy in Switzerland, I would say we are rather 90% than 80% of women. It is so. And I think it is a great, we have to, many of us are also teachers some of us are teaching homeopathy. And I think it is one of our responsibility to explain this young or less young woman that they have a responsibility towards the profession. Yes. We have also a responsibility towards Hahnemann. We have a responsibility to carry further. We cannot just be comfortably in our comfort zone in our clinic and don't give anything further. I mean, all these generations of homeopaths, male and women, they made so much for us now to enjoy all these medicines. We are talking about making provings, homeopathic provings. You know how hard it is nowadays to convince somebody to take part in a proving, because it takes you out of your comfort zone. Life has become very complicated, no? And many homeopaths, male and female, they tend to stay in the clinic. They are very good homeopaths, very good practitioners, but they don't want to come a little bit out of the comfort zone to come out. And we need this. We really need that. Homeopathy cannot grow and cannot grow up to its potential if we stay all in our comfort zone. It's not possible. So this is our role as woman teacher, to give this further to the male and to the female, and to motivate them, and so that they do their bit, they do their bit for the profession.
And I believe we also mustn't forget that it's about 100 years that universities are open for women.
Yeah.
A bit more than 100 years, but not very long time. And wherever you look, that's my experience, and I think one can say it like this: a woman always has to be a bit better than her man colleague to be respected, to be accepted. And so I think also on this level, we still have a way to go, and we shouldn't stay in our comfort zone. And yes.
Yeah, maybe, Bettina, I think also, that the healing energy is basically a feminine energy. It is in man and in woman. It is just, I'm just speaking about the energy, but it is a feminine energy. It is warmth. It is love. This is healing, And yes. I think that, of course, this is very near to women. That's why there are many great healers as women who are women. I do understand that, but I think that we are seeing this gender story is changing so much, at least in the West. We see it in our clinic. When I started to practice homeopathy more than 30 years back, then it was like this, that you have, you know, in the materia medica, we hear, oh, this is more a male medicine, this is more a female medicine. No? So, sorry, but let's say that sepia male or lilium tig males and let's say lycopodium woman were rare. No, it was much more divided. Now forget about it. You have so many Ignatia men and you have so many lycopodium women. So these things are changing a lot. It takes time. I do agree with you. It takes time. I don't want to say now if it's good or bad, but it is a fact. And yes, I think in all this, we should not so much think about gender. I don't think we should think about the love for the profession, and then the rest will come.
I would like to hear our Russian colleague commenting on that.
I am so glad to hear all of you, and I am agree with all of you, really. I want to say that our homeopathy communication and community is like a big family, I think. Really, I'm a member of VISH, and I feel all of members in this organization is like my relatives, really. And we work with my husband Dima in homeopathy together. We have our school, and we are like men and women in homeopathy, and we are like small part in big world communities of homeopathy, yes. And the woman in homeopathy, I like it's is the soul. The soul. We can initiate, we can give an idea, we can arrange something, deep understanding of the process. And what about the process of taking a case? I think the main point is the patient. I think it is the very main point in case taken, not repertory, not our systems, not different approaches, only patient. And patient leads us to the real point of his disease. And after taking case, after understanding the patient, we can use different approaches for finding the right remedy. Sometimes the patient can say us the right remedy. He can use his understanding of himself, and he feels himself, yes, and only patient knows his remedies, know me and know we. I feel so, and I believe in it. Thank you very much.
Well, there I can give an example from the animals. I have a nice story where I mixed up two remedies and wanted to give the wrong one to a horse, and he refused it immediately. And then I realized, I mixed and offered him the right one, and he said, yes, that's right. And this, I think, you need to search for a human patient who is able to decide it so quickly.
Yeah, horses have great instinctive power. I really appreciate in horses. Their instinct is second to none. But what Svetlana said is very important to me. The understanding of the patient is one thing, and the finding of the remedy is the other. And I remember actually a lecture I took years ago in Vienna, where Rajan Shankaran was there, taking an anacardium case, talking to the client about 3 hours. And after that, the client got the video of the case taking and the remedy. And the client said that the video worked better than the remedy. So the understanding And the talking with the client seems to have an more importance than we give it sometimes.
I'm not so, I go so far with you that it is very important, but that it is more important than the remedy. No, this I won't say that. I would say it is as important. Because if you are in the case taking, if you can manage this, and all of us know that when you're with the patient and you feel you are in resonance with the patient, you are, the law of similarity is already happening during the case taking. Then this is the first kick of the healing. This is absolutely right. So I understand it is very important for the patient to feel understood. It is important for us to feel as much as, of course, Priya, as much as we can in this 1 hour or whatever, but to feel the dynamic of his disease and to understand the big picture. I don't understand. But how many times, ladies, how many times do you prescribe A and nothing happens? And you had a very nice case taking, wonderful, but you make some kind of mistake, and then you prescribe B. Wow, tell me that. And it is not only in humans. I was basically a vet, so you know it, Bettina. This happened with animals so often. You gave arsenicum, but it was bacteria. Forget about it. Nothing will happen. So that's why I mean both. Both are very important.
Yes, you are right. Both insights. Mm-hmm.
And it brings us back to my point in the beginning. I mean, there is once a minimum for any disease state of the patient. And this is our job to find it. And we have the principles, we have the means, we have the theory, and then we can connect ourselves to the patient. This is the art. The art is to connect ourselves with the patient so that we understand him, or we know how, because our case taking is as good as the questions we ask. No, already Hahnemann tells us, I don't know how you say this in English, but the spontaneous and then the gelenkte Bericht. The spontan Bericht or the gelenkte Bericht. How do you say this, Marianne?
It's the spontaneous talk of the client, and then the pointed out questions where you lead the client to answer.
That's what I mean. And you can make the second part of the case taking only as good as you understood the patient. Otherwise, I mean, it's a nice talk. It may take you 3 hours, 4 hours, 5 hours. You will still not ask the right question to find the simillimum. So in this sense, Priya, I don't agree with you when you say it is a case receiving. I don't agree exactly, because we are the only, I mean, we have a responsibility. We have to ask the questions. So I guess that's what you mean, no? More receiving in the sense of not being bossy on the patient.
Absolutely. And not also deciding beforehand that, this is probably a mollusk and asking those kind of questions, and just seeing what emerges in that moment and then pursuing it actively, but waiting for the answers to come from the patient.
I don't understand.
Then trying and also, making sure at every point that, you have, by the end of the case, you have confirmations at various levels, things you can rely on. That, you might forget that chelidonium has an aversion to cheese, but, if you ask specifically that, that you have, how are you about milk and milk products? And then you have that cheese aversion to, and then you realize when you repertorize that it covers that as well. So those confirmations, a little guided case taking, yes, but then not really completely deciding beforehand, or deciding, earlier on in the case that this could be this, or maybe, I will give this particular group of remedies, and then allowing it to emerge, keeping the patient comfortable and allowing them to just tell you what they can. So, I think that is very important. So, but I agree with you completely that confirmations at every level are important. So you have the first part of the case taking as a sort of automatic process, and in the second part, it's much more of a guided, explore these areas further. Tell me about your sleep and dreams, and can you explain that a little further? And then giving it more direction, because otherwise you'll just be left with a lot of good talk, but not really an essence perhaps of what you need to prescribe on.
I would like to come back to what our Russian colleague has said, because I've understood it a little bit different. I understood it so that she was saying in the moment you as homeopaths have your idea of the remedy, and you have the remedy in you, you feel it and you know it, that it transports already mentally to the patient. Did I get you there right?
No. We follow for the patient, for his gestures, for his energy. And when he when he see the chief idea of his pathologies, of his energy, chief idea, yes, chief idea is connected with energy. It's the important thing. And after that, we understanding what we became from the patient after that.
Yes, now I got it. So it goes through the head, not through the mind.
No.
Yeah.
No. Okay.
Because I believe they do go through the mind as well, the remedies.
Yes, we can do it, because some patients don't say us very deeply sensation. Yes, some patients are on the level of diagnosis, yes, of facts, of emotion, and a lot of patients don't have images and delusions. Maybe they have, but we cannot receive it. Yes, on the taking case, cannot receive. Maybe it's not the time. Maybe there are a lot of deep history of healing with allopathic remedies, for example, yes, and patient forgot, for example, about his deep delusion. Forgot. Yes, he has only facts and only diagnosis, and we can use repertory. Why not? Okay.
So maybe you do not know that our Russian colleagues are restricted to only a few hundred remedies. They don't have the variety of remedies we can choose from, because homeopathy in Russia is not so easy to do.
Yes, you're right. You are right. But we have opportunity to investigate new remedies by themselves, yes, not in official way, but themselves, yes. And we make provings, a lot of provings, and we can use it in our patient, but not in official way.
Okay. Yes. So you follow Hahnemann and make your remedies yourself.
Yes.
Very good.
Yes, try to do it, because doctors needs to feel the remedies when he uses in his practice. We must have do it. We must do it. We have to do it, because how we can feel what is healing healing material in our remedies? How can we know about it? Only from materia medica. It's not enough for me, really. I can feel what is arnica. I can feel what is anacardium. I can feel all remedies, but from small remedies and from some of remedies, I can better feel, yes, what is homeopathy.
So you should write the materia medica with your information.
So this is a very interesting aspect. Who of you did do remedy making yourself?
I mean, for a patient or just for knowing how you do it? Because this is
for knowing how you do it. Just make a remedy yourself and potencize it up to C30.
This is part of our curriculum in our college, definitely. You know, they have all students, and I did it, of course, also. They have to make their own remedies, 2-3 remedies, whatever, you know, different way of. I think it's important to make the remedies once, but I think to make a proving, to feel how it is, you know. Then this is a very, very deep approach to a medicine when you did this. No. This is also a second part, and I'm very happy to know, Svetlana, that you are doing both.
Yes.
As
part of our curriculum, we have to actually potentize up to 6x when we are doing pharmacy in the first year. So then, you know, that particular remedy or the salt is given to us, and then we potentize it. Of course, after the final year, I also took part in approving, and you know, the remedy was the new proving was done. So I had also volunteered my time, but I can tell you that both are arduous processes. But proving, especially because, as you know, one of you said, I think Martine said that, you know, coming out of the comfort zone and actually doing that proving was it was a very difficult experience because of the delusions and the fears I experienced. It was quite tough.
Yeah, but it is I mean, this remedy that you proved, Priya, is with you. You will never forget it, you know, and you will recognize it at the first glimpse, you know, when a patient comes with this. So this is a very small price to come out of our comfort zone compared to what we get at the end.
Absolutely, absolutely. So the homeopath I am now probably understands that a little bit better than, you know, the very young homeopath, 22 years old that I was at that time, who, you know, gave off her time and took part in that process. It was scary. Some parts of it were scary to me.
We made, you know, in Switzerland, we made a proving, I mean, from following the laws of the organon and also the international protocol, which is now recognized for proving. And we proved 5 medicines. We proved aminitrozum. We even proved guarana and adonis and hecla and natrium arsenicosum. And this was absolutely a great time. But frankly, to organize a proving, to make it really so that you can get a maximum out of the medicine is a very lengthy process. No? Till everything, because when we did hecla, which is a very anti-syphilitic, very deep-acting medicine to be compared to silicea from the depth and the length of action, and you feel this during the proving, no? Because how long the symptoms will stay, how long the prover will produce symptoms, gives you a hint how deep acting will be the medicine. So hecla showed, you know, we had symptoms without any problem for 3 months. Some provers made symptoms 4 months, 5 months long. So of course, this is really out of the comfort zone. This I do understand. When we proved like other medicine, guarana, which is a medicine very acting on the nerves, very much nearer to coffea, you know, not so long acting. I mean, after the proving time, which was of 3 weeks, there was the symptoms were over. We could, you know, that nobody continued to make provings. So this is a very important part of, and it can take very long, but still it is worth it. So we used to make one proving for 1 year, you know, because the planning, the proving time, and then the whole analyzing all the results, it takes a lot of time. And then you have this process after of getting back from the community, you know, all the cases which were treated with these new symptoms. So the clinical, and this is again, so I think this is something which is very important, where we should work many groups are working together, but I think this is very important to work together, because we should not repeat the same, the same proving. There's so much to do. Why should we repeat, no?
Absolutely, yeah.
Absolutely.
It has been found that the provings which have been done in the West and newer symptoms are coming up. Like when whatever remedy has been proven there, and when we are prescribing here, we are finding that newer symptoms are adding up, and based on that symptoms, if you are giving that medicine, it's acting very well.
Okay.
So that same remedy has to be proven in different areas. So depending on that area, the proving results will be different. The symptoms which are produced are different.
There is now, because it's very difficult to have a big group of provers, no? It is, I mean, you would need at least a 30 group, group of 30 people, and it needs to be a stable group and so on. It's not so easy, because it's not so easy to be a good prover. It's not the first time you do proving that you're a good prover. And what you said, it's absolutely so. Now the tendency goes, that we make multi-central provings. So one group in India, one group in Italy, one group in Switzerland, one group so. And I believe this is the future. Then we can get the most of it.
Yes, that is what means. Those medicines which have been proven in Europe, the same medicines have to be proven in India also. So that we combine that symptoms, and then there's a group of symptoms which will be suitable for that any person who is showing up with those symptoms.
Absolutely.
And I would like to say to you that we arrange a platform, Proving Point Space. This is about provings for a vote. And we arrange one proving of digital remedy. It was Arnica, digital Arnica 30. And there are 5 countries took part in this proving. Germany, India, Russia, and Israel. Yes, Israel. And what else? Australia, I think. And it very interesting project, and I invite all of you to our project. You can say the site, Proving Point Space. Provings to the world, and you can take part all of in this project. It's very interesting, really. It is very small. It's a child in homeopathy, and we like women we can take basis for this. I invite you all.
This is a great idea.
Is there also no cells being proven? I often don't find enough information about the nosodes.
Yes, we arrange provings, Arnica, digital remedy, digital. We hear this remedy, not take it. Scott Flowers. This is method of Scott Flowers. Do you know him? This is from USA. Scott Flowers.
Sorry, it's not. I don't know. Do you know?
Okay, as I send you the link, and you read about
absolutely.
it. Okay?
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Okay.
Yeah, this is going back to quantum physics, where we know that actually we only have to know the name of the remedy or the frequency of the remedy, and then we can take it. Things like von der Leyen does.
Absolutely, yeah.
And does successfully. Maybe if Hahnemann would live now, the organon would add a bit of quantum philosophy in the last parts or the last paragraphs.
Yeah.
We don't know. But could.
If Dr. Hahnemann would have lived today, he would be amazed by the different kinds of methodologies which are used to treat the patients in the name of homeopathy. And probably he might agree also and try to integrate our system with all other systems for better treatment of the patients. Because he was a scientist and he believed in evolution, not staying back into those ancient rules and regulations, So continuation, evolution was there. He, by looking at the organon itself, you have seen that how many additions he had made. Continuous improvement was there. That is what is called as the quality processing.
Yes, and we do not write an organon every 10 years, which maybe someone should do. Keep the tradition.
Yeah, the main principles would be the same, but even though he would like to improve more and evolve more, that is, I think he might have thought over that.
But
yes,
he would also remind us strongly on what his teaching was. I think he would be also angry in many cases where somebody says he does homeopathy.
That's what I think. I'm not so sure. I mean, we can't speak about him, but he was, at least, if he's still the way he was when he was living, he was still adamant about, about homeopathy, and homeopathy as defined in organon with development, but not, from A to Z and to I don't know what. I mean, astro homeopathy and this homeopathy and that homeopathy. This is not good. This is not strengthening homeopathy. I come with you as far as it is about methodology to reach the similimum, and we are talking about the same similimum. Then I come with you, Dr. Rajeshwari, but further no.
Yes, this is like the development of the colors in homeopathy, which are very good proven by now.
What I think is, even though we come to the similimum, whatever be the methodology, we come to that medicine only, while we are treating the patient.
Yes.
So basically, thought-wise, our main mission is to treat the patient according to the principles of homeopathy, whatever be the methodology.
Absolutely.
And the same thing, while talking about homeopathy as well as other systems of medicines, where there is a lot of conflicts going on, So I think that basically our mission, whatever system it may be or whatever methodology it is, all our mission is to treat the patient gently and rapidly.
Yes.
So that should be the only mission of a doctor, whatever system it is, whatever methodology it is. I remember one case when I was practicing in the rural OPD of a college, because how we perceive the patient, right? When the patient is approaching from the door itself of the cabin. One lady, particularly, she was about 55 years old around, and she just approached from the door. And the typical approach, while she was coming along, she was accompanied by her husband. And she was making a type of movement from her mouth like a snake, protruding her tongue and again taking it back. And from that glimpse itself, I could recognize this looks like a snake remedy. And after taking her history, whatever I had in my mind, I can't say that I was prejudiced, but the approach, the patient, how she was coming, from that itself, that remedy strike in my mind. And after taking all the history, I came across the lachesis. And believe me, she was having that symptom of protruding her tongue out and taking it back. And she was in a shock, chronic grief, because she had lost her grown-up son. And she was not able to speak. Suddenly, she lost her voice after losing her son. And after giving the lachesis, she regained her voice. She started speaking after years of around 5 years of period. She started speaking.
Wonderful case.
That was so amazing, I myself was so amazed after that, giving her that medicine.
Yeah.
So
this example brings me to a question I would have to all of you. So we all agree we need to find the similar, but as your case shows, what is just as important is to find the cause. And
Yeah.
how do you all go about finding the cause?
I don't know how you go about finding it, but this is at least in the method that I'm using, that I learned from my husband, from Dr. Jus. It is a very essential point. It's called the exciting cause. No, we see the cause in our methodology. We see the cause, the causa, on the miasmatic level, and then you have the exciting cause, which can be emotional, which can be different exciting causes, as we know from the materia medica. So very important, because it helps you, if you find this, it helps you to find the dynamic of the disease. As otherwise, you don't get a line. And also it's very important to see the dynamic of the disease, which goes to the miasmatic level, when you see the history of the patient, Okay, this disease happened, and that happened, and this was suppressed, and that happened, and this plus the situation now and exciting cause. How many patients do we have who come with hay fever? Since when do you have hay fever? 7 years. Then you asked a general thing about the patient. You see, he's married since 8 years. Okay, interesting. 7 years hay fever, 8 years married. Okay, do you have children? Yes. How old is the firstborn? 7. Okay, this is such a often story, a big change in life for whatever reason, whatever this child, it may be a child with health problems, it may be other factors, it may be just that the patient lost his freedom, or whatever happened, tension in the marriage. And this was the exciting cause of the hay fever. If you get that, Bettina, then the case taking is so easy. And if you don't get that, then it becomes much more difficult. No? Sometimes it is the exciting cause which brings us to the remedy so fast. Sometimes, like you said, it's a very prominent symptoms. I remember a case that my husband told from his teacher, Dr. Bose. And Dr. Bose was, from Calcutta, B.K. Bose, to both Indians, ladies under us, surely a known name. And he was a great master, himself a student of Kent. And my husband always told, he went with him with Dr. Bose to a house visit, house visit? Yeah. And then the patient came down, it was a rich guy, and he had some psychic problem. And he came down the stairs. He was very thin and very well dressed, and came down the stairs, stopped suddenly, doesn't reach the doctors waiting for him, stopped suddenly and start, moving around a picture which was not exactly straight. Dr. Bose let him come down, ask one question: when is it worse? Didn't ask him what you have. When is it worse? The patient tells him every day at the same time. Medicine, case taking finished, medicine clear, arsenicum album, and the case was clear. So this is depending, sometimes it is such a symptom, sometimes it is the exciting cause. But I truly think without the exciting cause, and without taking the miasmatic level, it's very difficult to go up to the roots of the problem. And it's very dangerous the danger is then we treat symptoms. From the moment we treat symptoms, we are not applying what we should have learned in Organon. We have to treat the patient.
I'm sorry, Marianne. I would like to allow out because I have no time more. I'm very happy to hear all of you. It's very, very great communication today, and I'm very happy, and I hope we'll be continuing. Yes?
Hope we will see you again, Svetlana. We stay in contact, and I hope we will see you again.
Yes. Okay.
Yeah, those we done, yeah.
Okay, до свидания.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you very much. Bye.
Bye. She has
I
to do the
agree.
webinar.
I agree, Martine, because unless we get the exciting cause, and along with that, how developed is this person inside, not and where they are, how much outside they are in the world, how much functional they are in the world. It's very important because a case comes to mind recently. There's this 40-year-old lady who's deciding now at this point of time whether to have a child or not. And in this current pandemic situation, which has given her a sense of urgency that if it's not this year, then she probably will not have a kid, but she can't really make up her mind. And then when we explored further, the whole story of her childhood and not being wanted, not feeling wanted in her own family came up, not having that trust, which you're supposed to get, an unconditional love that you're supposed to get from your own family came up. And because of that mistrustfulness, that she didn't receive that unconditional love, and this with this exciting cause of the pandemic, and the fact that she cannot decide whether she wants to be a mother or not, a remedy came up. So without this, sometimes it comes up automatically for a lot of people during this time, my senior citizens. It's coming up, the pandemic itself. It's like death knocking on your door. Your friend is suddenly COVID positive and dying. 2 buildings away, somebody is dying. 3 buildings away, someone. The floor above, there is news, and then in the newspaper every day you have. So sometimes it emerges like that as per the situation, but sometimes it emerges like this, that she very kind of matter of fact said that I'm trying to make up my mind whether to have a child or not, but then I decided that this would be the year that I would have a child. Then this pandemic happened, but she said that I didn't have such a good experience as a child myself, so that's probably somewhere stopping me from becoming a mother. I don't know what kind of mother I would be. So then the whole thing comes, and this is where the dynamic is, that motherhood and receiving, giving love, mistrustfulness, and then the whole thing comes up very beautifully. So it comes up as a matter of course, and when you explore, so it can be a mix of both. And then you understand the depth to which she feels that particular situation. That is the Mayaism. And without that, because you cannot really go ahead and make a prescription, you might come to a group of remedies. But from there, you go forward and you differentiate with the help of the Mayaism.
Sure.
And then you make, so this is how, Bettina, that it comes up.
Sometimes
I hope that answers.
After the case taking with a really nice remedy. And we know we can give it, we know it will take us a few weeks and give us a bit of time, but we know it's not the right remedy. It won't make the change. But still it buys time.
Yeah, so when you help that person understand, so the next day she called me up. She said that, I need to speak to you again because this brought up a lot of feelings that I had kept, that I didn't realize I'd kept inside. So I said, yes, and that's normal. And that, you're looking at certain portions of your life that you've probably repressed unknowingly. So I said that it's all right for these feelings to come up. Just take a look at them, let them go, and then the medicine will reach you very soon. So by the end of that, she was asking why that these symptoms come up. She says, on the one hand, I feel relieved. So how is it that I can be relieved as well as, a little worked up? So, you have to explain then that you're relieved because you're not carrying this by yourself anymore. You've been heard. And, if the case receiving has been successful, then you have to feel relieved at the end of it because you have said everything that is to be said, and the charge is completely neutralized, the charge of the story of the state. But of course, it's going to bring up a lot of the churning happens inside, and then it brings up a lot of this baggage that you didn't know that you had inside. And then that's okay too, because then she said, what do I need to do about it? So I said, nothing. You don't need to do anything about it. The remedy will give you the answer when you receive it in a couple of days time. It's, as soon as you take it, things that have to settle down, and things that have to come up and need to be looked at, that balance will automatically happen. So this is what, the conversation happened. So it was an eye opener for me too, that with sometimes with the case receiving, you think that ventilation should actually give her relief and she should be completely at ease, but also it brings up certain things. So those also need to be looked at. So it's probably something that I will remember the next time and tell them that, such a thing can happen too.
But I think that, what you said, this is the beauty of homeopathy, starting with the case taking and the process started, in the case that you describe. And then how we see this very often, that the patient goes back, whatever was disturbing him, if it was anger, suppressed anger, or if it was a bad childhood or whatever it was, if it was a shock, many times it comes back in form of dreams, in form of thoughts, in form of in different forms. And then when we ask the patient, how do you feel now about it after this kind of cleansing, then they say, now I can let it go. I'm at peace with it. Now, and this is the beauty of homeopathy, because how many things, how often do we hear, I know it, but I can't change it. And homeopathy takes the but away. This is the present that we got from this genius Hahnemann, no?
This is the legacy, absolutely. This is a system that, that we can rely on each time, and that, that, although you're going through this tunnel with them, and all their psychological, situations, the baggage, everything is coming up, and it is a catharsis, as you say. And then, but that there is light at the end of the tunnel, and that you're going to leave them in a better place. The remedy is going to do the thing that it needs to. And then, she said, then how will I decide? I said, the medicine will help you decide. You don't need to do anything. Spontaneously, the answer will come to you, what you need to do, whether you need to have a child or not have a child. So,
absolutely. Yeah.
So now I wanted to tell you one thing, that people generally, they have a outlook towards homeopathy, that homeopathy works well only in chronic cases.
Yeah.
People don't know that it can work wonders even in acute cases. I have treated so many acute cases: fever, cold, coryza, colic, so many pains, muscular pains, joint pains, acute conditions, and sudden vomiting, glossitis, conjunctivitis, so many things to mention. Many people don't know that homeopathy can work for acute conditions also, and especially in emergency conditions, it can also work wonders. I have started one course also now, medical emergency conditions, first aid, CPR, and homeopathic medicines, role of homeopathy in medical emergency conditions. So I wanted to make every people, especially in India, so that everybody comes to know the importance of homeopathy in medical emergencies. It has a role to play, especially in this condition, COVID-19 situation. People are so much afraid. They don't want to go outside of their home, especially to hospitals for minor conditions. Even if acute conditions happen, they try to treat themselves by home remedies and all that. So if they come to know about the importance of some homeopathic medicines, which can play a role as a first aid till they can get some advanced help, many times they can cure themselves also, or they can wait till the advanced help arrives. So I am trying to launch this course. I have trained about 263 people for this course. And going further, I am looking forward to train many people.
Very good. Congratulations. Homeopathy came from the acute cases, came from the epidemics and the acute cases. And this is the strength of homeopathy. No?
Yeah, but many people are not aware of that. The awareness is needed.
The legacy of homeopathy. That's how Melanie, traveled to meet Dr. Hahnemann, because she had heard about, what in 1832 homeopathy had done for the cholera epidemic in Europe and in she came to know, she had heard stories, and that's how she traveled, and she wasn't well. I was so pleased to hear that she traveled incognito as a man, and all the adventure and the mystery of any proper blockbuster were there in her story. It was very interesting to read about, how she traveled and she met this man who was almost a recluse, and something happened in that meeting. She went to him as a patient, dressed as a man, and he treated her, and she became fine, and they fell in love and got married and moved. It's almost a Hindi masala movie. I can imagine all the singing and dancing happening somewhere, it's absolutely Hindi masala movie. And then going forward, the things about how they moved to Paris, and she's an amazing woman. Actually, the more I read about her, the more I was so inspired.
I was always very sad, what you said, that in many colleges, this thing is taught, that she was not a good woman. And I always had a very different impression from her. Absolutely different impression. I mean, what was the advantage of this lady, 35 years old, to marry an 80 years old? You have to, I mean, he was not rich. He was not, I mean, what was that? This was something different.
I remember distinctly being taught that, he was charmed by her and he was seduced by her, and she had a ulterior motive, and, that's how she made him leave his family. And when I read, to my surprise, I discovered she was the first female homeopath in Europe, practicing at the time when it was a male bastion that she stormed, and her practice cut across classes and this whole social class, and she saw people of all social standing. And she made home visits, and she was a woman of means, an independent woman who had absolutely no need to marry somebody of that age. And she had property of her own, and she left when he left. I think there's this gentleman. She was a countess herself of noble birth. And that itself was a revelation to me, because I had been taught otherwise.
And she has been an artist and a great painter.
And a great painter with a successful career. So again, somebody who matched both the left and the right brains, parts of her brain, perhaps, And Hahnemann himself telling Bonninghausen that, or Herring, that, her brain is equal to mine as far as, almost surpasses mine as far as the detailed case taking and the complexity and the detailed case records that she kept. And I read an anecdote that she sat next to him and during the case taking, and after a particular point, she would whisper in his ear that, it is this remedy, let me save you some time. And he saw more patients that way. So he cut across long, ponderous case taking. So I was really amazed to read that and very inspired.
It's the same story as with Albert Einstein and his wife.
It's always said that it's brains that fall in love, and it's always like independent women are always criticized for some or other thing.
And she was a critical ghost. She also criticized society and did political speeches. She knew that one should not just believe what people think.
No, I mean, in fact, he was living in this very small place in Austria, I believe, or somewhere, if I'm right. And she brought him out from there to the world art scene in Paris and, set up houses for him. And, homeopathy probably gained worldwide popularity because of her efforts. So the
she was very much being an artist herself in Paris, she was very much in these circles. So it brought Hahnemann to these circles, and also in the letters that Hahnemann wrote, we can see that she opened him up to music, for example, which was not playing a big role in Hahnemann's life. He was going every Thursday. There is a mention about this. Every Thursday he was going to the opera. They were living at that time a little bit higher, a little bit far away, not far away, walking distance from the opera of Paris. And they were going every Thursday. And he was having every Thursday an ice cream, a vanilla ice cream. It's even marked up to this point, you know, they describe up to this point. And I think this was a very strong, definitely a very strong woman who suffered tremendously after his death, because she stayed very true to what she believed in, but her life became very difficult. She didn't get the right to practice. She was, you know, and I think she can be an example to many of us when we come back to what I said about coming out of our comfort zone. We don't have to do all this. We have very comfortable situation because the blockage that we have are only in ourselves. Society doesn't give us blockages. It's just inside of us.
I agree. It's a privilege to be a woman homeopath in this day and age where, you know, you are an independent woman. You make your own decisions, whether you want to go ahead, diversify your practice, do something. You have a lot of resources, technological resources. The very fact that we are having this conversation, so many countries, women meeting at the same time over this platform, a resource that she probably definitely didn't have at that time. And, you know, to give her the license to practice so many years later, she became a doctor in the 30s, and she was given the formal license to practice in Paris in 1872, I believe. So, you know, many 40 years afterwards. So,
Absolutely.
You know, men in power holding back just out of derision and just to spite and to put obstacles in the path of what she would have been a formidable force if, you know. So she left a lot of men very inconvenienced and feeling, you know, what's happening here? Kind of, who is this person?
Yeah, recently I read one letter also, which was published in the social media about Dr. Hahnemann recommending for the licentiate for his wife, you know. So you could see that Dr. Hahnemann gave a tremendous amount of support to her regarding every matter, you know. So there is one phrase, you know, that behind every successful man, there is a strong woman.
Yeah.
But when you come to a successful woman, then there are many permutations and combinations. There can be a weak man behind a successful woman because it becomes a necessity, you know, for survival instinct, and she it becomes a necessity for her to succeed, to survive, to get along. And then there can be several family members who can stand behind her. There can be several men, like her husband himself, and brothers or her friends. So there are several permutations and combinations for a woman, successful woman. And besides all this, her own self-worth and her own self-respect, which will also make her successful.
And she defined her success on her own terms. She didn't need anybody coming and endorsing her and defining her success. And that's something that I also take away, that you don't really need external validation. She probably just felt that this was her thing and she did it. And for somebody else,
strong with her beliefs.
Of means in those days to travel and to marry a man so many years her senior, and to, you know, make sure that his property was well settled before she brought him to Paris. So she didn't want anyone saying behind her, you know, in her wake that in the wake of her leaving that place, that, you know, here's a woman who took away his property. She made sure it was all settled to his natural children. She said, I don't want anything from this. And she had much more. It's a different thing that she was a woman of means. She had properties to her name. So she didn't really need something from this person that she was married.
I think, you know, the true success being for a man or for a woman should never come from our own ego. I want to be successful. Yeah. True success, which can also last over the generations, come only from a very pure and from love for mankind and love for homeopathy. Through our love to homeopathy, we want to help, you know, others. No? So the motivation, our intrinsic motivation should be pure. And then whatever you call it, success or what, this is not so important, as it was not important to Melanie, as it was not important to many. We have many other women in homeopathy. If you see, you name Margaret Tyler, you can say also Mrs. Dr. Gladwin, which was an excellent Kantian homeopath, and many others up to today. But the difference is, surely in many of these women, it was never about, I want to be known, I want to be the best, I want to be on big stages, because this is very temporary. Nobody remembers such people, no?
Mm.
Yes, it's
Yes,
about
true.
the mission from the heart and what you are meant to be on a spiritual level.
Yes, the main values which form the basics of any success, and the contentment which we get from that pure values. That is what means a success. It may be homeopathy or whatever mission for what we are working towards.
Yes, and you can't run away from it. You are
Yeah.
what you're meant to be. You can try to be another, but it won't succeed. Not for long. So, anything you still want to say? Our meeting is coming to the end.
I want to thank you, Marianne, for your job, for your work, for being there and trying to put all of us and many others together. And you came, oh my God, so much out of your comfort zone.
Yes.
And this is really, yeah, I really admire it. Thank you.
I thank you for being here, and I thank you for all the work you do in Switzerland. And I'm still hoping that you might someday open a homeopathic hospital.
This
Thank
is
you, Maria.
definitely.
Thank you, Bettina. Thank you, Dr. Jus. Thank you, Svetlana. And thank you, Priya. It was nice talking to you all. And Dr. Maria, I think that we should make one WhatsApp group too to exchange ideas. And I'm looking forward for collaboration for my course. If anybody is interested, I would like to collaborate with them and extend forward this course towards the people for awareness.
Yes, all these live talks are meant to create more sense for collaboration and co-working and sharing of knowledge, and to gain interest in what the others do and get a glimpse of what this country's specialty is and what that country's specialty is, and to join in, to combine. And doing this, I guess we can go like Melanie Hahnemann, whispering something, and we are a lot quicker in prescribing. I remember what Peter Tominello said. He said he was taking a case from a hyperthyroid woman, and he came up with a remedy, but he didn't feel it in his heart. And so he took this color table, and the woman did choose, I don't know what color she chose, but she chose the color under which were many remedies written, but tomato was one of them. And then he asked her what she likes to eat at the moment, and she answered tomatoes. She had a craving for tomatoes. And then he did repertorize the case again, and see tomato was in many of the rubrics, gave tomato, and the case was cured. This was very interesting to me.
I really like these anecdotes. They really stay in my mind. It's like reading, it's like watching Margaret Tyler's Materia Medica unfold. And thank you so much, Marianne. And it's I just answered a call for collaboration on Facebook, and I made a whole world of, I made a very good friend a world away. So I'm very thankful for these opportunities to collaborate and, come out of our comfort zones, understand to another's point of view, and learn from that and see the merit and in someone else's point of view, learn from your experiences, Bettina, Martine, Rajeshwari, and Svetlana, Marianne also, and to understand, the possibilities in animal care, veterinary medicine with homeopathy. And it's opened up a whole host of avenues for me to, expand my horizons. And so it just brings back to me that being a homeopath is a process of continuous learning and continuous collaboration, and we cannot work in our comfort silos anymore. And we have to, for the future of homeopathy, reach out and collaborate and make sure that resources are available to everyone. And that is why, as with Vitalia, what we began in April, we are doing a webinar every Friday, and we're making sure that these new thoughts, processes, snippets from their clinical possibilities, how they're using remedies to handle acute conditions, COVID, the psychiatric aftermath of COVID, what is going to happen, and how homeopathy can play a part in that. So these are some of the areas that we are exploring with the think tank and the online clinic Vitalia that we began in April. So I'm just so happy that it's taken on this form, and I'm already collaborating, listening to all you power women in, we're just 6 months old. And it's like I said, I'm excited for the future. I'm excited for all the collaborations that can happen. Thank you so much.
Priya, make sure that we have the links to the webinar so that we can put it on your speaker site. And Rajeshwari, you too, give us the link to your course so that we can put it on your speaker site.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Look forward to seeing you all.
Bettina, anything else you want to say?
I'm feeling very happy to having been here, being able to listen to everybody, and I feel that we are going forward with women power.
Me too. Thank you so much, and have a nice Sunday.
You too all. Have a nice day.
Yeah. Thank you.
Have a wonderful weekend, everyone. Bye. See you.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Bye.